Disclaimer: the following artwork is based on fan fiction, a non-canon alteration of the original artwork. All rights and properties are reserved to the respective companies, studios, creators, and legal supporters of these franchises. These are 100% non-canon and are not claimed by me, the author. They do not reflect on the official creations of these characters, places, and times within their respective universes, and are purely intended for the fun of art. Please support the official releases. Greetings and welcome to a reading of a fan fiction of a Nintendo property called Star Fox. This will be the prologue and the first chapter of this reading. Experiment X0-G5. The prologue. After finally signing a galactic alliance with the solar system's worlds, it seemed the Lilat system was at peace. Under the watch of the Galactic Federation, led by General Pepper, all known inhabited worlds would be safe. Until a man named Andross became envious of the General's accomplishments. Andross, a scientist under the General's aid, simply wanted more respect and honor he felt he rightfully deserved. He was the creator of 90% of all weaponry and technology advances the Federation's military wielded, yet began setting his sights on biological enhancements. Unfortunately, bioweapons, as they are categorized by the Federation, would never accept the scientist's ideal or creations and deemed them unethical and thus illegal. Fearing a threat from Andross and his multiple accounts of unwanted inventions, General Pepper authorized for the scientists to cease and desist or be banished to the uninhabitable world of Venom. Suspiciously, Andross quietly left, and peace supposedly continued. 5 years later, an attack on the Federation's headquarters on Corneria was launched, led by none other than the mad scientist Andross. The Federation fought valiantly to thwart the strike, then planned to launch a group to stop further assaults. To counter, a small unit called a Star Fox was dispatched to Venom. The Star Fox team, made of James McLeod, Peppy Hare, and Pigma Dengar, easily made their way through the ranks of Andross's fleet. However, as they were about to make contact with the scientist, complications arose. James McLeod rushed to stop Andross from getting away, but was ultimately brought down by Andross's men. They set a trap that led the Star Fox team into an ambush, managing to take the brave leader with them in a grand explosion of the uncovered hideout. Pigma and Peppy managed to escape, forcing the rest of the Federation to bombard the surface of Venom until nothing was left to be alive. Parts of James' ship were recovered from the destruction, and his family was notified. Peace became of Lilat once more. Years passed, and James's son, Fox McLeod, was given right to join the Cornerian army, but soon after was discharged for insubordination. He wasn't alone, as his colleagues Falco Lombardi and Slippy Toad would follow. They took up the Star Fox insignia, pulling it and the Great Fox starship from retirement after their last mission, and ran their fleet as a mercenary group. Hearing this, Peppy Hare, best friend of James and his son, would also come out of retirement to help the team into finding out the mysteries behind the death of James McLeod and the disappearance of one Pigma Dengar and the mad scientist Andross. Their valiant efforts to end the war between Venom and Corneria were heard across the solar system. Battles between Star Fox and Star Wolf became legends, and even after defeating Andross on Venom, who nearly took the life of the son that followed in his father's footsteps, the Star Fox team, under the Cornerian Army's branch, would continue to support the Federation and bring an end to those left under Andross's rule. Not all who followed the scientist were caught, and not all of his inventions were found. This is where another story begins. Chapter 1. Scanning the outer rim of the Lilat system was the ship Concordia, captained by a strong-willed woman named Valra Dominez. She had a crew of only females aboard, having the notion that men were not stable enough to be soldiers under her command. The Aztec feline cared very little to that of men that were even of her same rank, or even to those above her, like General Pepper. She only tolerated her superiors, while her colleagues and subordinates outside her fleet were basically civilians with registered firearms. They weren't worth her time or attention. While out on patrol, Valra received a call from General Pepper. It was on a channel she knew was only registered to higher authorities and would only connect to her fleet if someone above her rank wanted something kept secret. She had her subordinates exit the command deck, leaving her alone to speak with the lead canine. In their talk, a file was transferred over to the Concordia vessel, which was only to be accessed by the captain herself. In the time it took to obtain the files, Captain Dominez was told she'd be getting a visit by the general and also a new unit. The man did not say who or what or where they were from. He didn't even give a name. But once the files were sent, and it was confirmed by the captain about the general's visit, the transmission ended abruptly. Among the crew were some well-trained and very anti-men idealistic characters. There was Hana, an otter who was one of the few mechanics aboard Concordia. Shyla, a Black Mouse R-Wing pilot of Division 2, D2. Diana, a Dingo R-Wing pilot of D2. Carlita, aka Kari, a Red Fox R-Wing pilot of D2. And the most fearsome, and probably most feared, of all the D2 R-Wing pilots is Myrna, a large and muscular brown wolf. It seemed like any other ordinary day. Most of the crew did their routine inspections of the ship and its cargo, mechanics working to keep the R-Wing fighter jets up to date and ready for combat, while the pilots stayed in shape as the maintenance team kept Concordia running smoothly. In the training hall, Diana and Kari were doing simple weightlifting, while Shyla was doing some cardio. Myrna was on the close combat training mat, rapidly and harshly striking a person-shaped dummy in multiple areas, sometimes aiming lower than ethically acceptable. The group meshed with other divisions in the training hall, while other units were wandering about the ship or simply hanging out in their favorite spots. It wasn't until an announcement went live over the intercom that things came to a halt with everyone. Reaching out to everyone on her ship, Captain Dominez said, "Ladies, your attention. We will be receiving a new recruit shortly. You may continue with what you're doing, but if you're curious to see, then please head to the docking bay. I repeat." After hearing the announcement, Diana put the weighted bar up safely before moving to sit up on her bench, where she wiped away some sweat before she asked, "Finally getting a new girl for D5? Watching Myrna continue to punch the training dummy, Kari responded, "It's been almost 3 weeks since their leader retired. Wonder what took so long for the Federation to finally approve of a replacement." Myrna struck the dummy harder than usual, forcing it back a foot. Then she turned to begin heading out the training area as she said, "Let's get this over with." The D2 team and a few others from separate divisions motioned for the docking bay, where they met with their captain waiting as the airlock doors began to open. An anti-gravity and air pressure shielding coated the opening to keep the oxygen within the ship from rapidly pouring out, while also safely securing the occupants from the vacuum of space. Those under the captain's command lined up behind Valra, the Aztec cat calmly waiting as the new transport ship entered to gently land in an open area of the docking bay. As the airlock doors closed back up, the transport vessel shut down and opened a hatch to allow 4 soldiers to step out, 2 of which were heavily armored, and a third was in the uniform of an R-Wing pilot. The 4th was General Pepper himself, leading the pack to present themselves before the captain of Concordia. With a salute to her superior, Valra said, "Greetings, General. You honor us with your presence." Quietly in the back, the other women saluted the general as well, but Myrna muttered, "Not likely." General Pepper gave a salute in respect. Then the women and the male canine lowered their arms as the general said, "Glad to see you're all in good health, Captain Dominus. I assume things are in order. As long as people know their places, the peace will be upheld." The 2 high-ranking officers had a quiet stare-down, almost giving an uncomfortable vibe. Then General Pepper smiled as he joyfully said, "Excellent, Captain." He then stepped aside and turned to keep his attention towards the captain as he said, "Let me introduce to you your new recruit." One of the armored soldiers shifted his stance slightly, bumping his elbow against the uniformed pilot to have them step forwards more. The pilot stood short as a canine of some gene with dark fur. His eyes were a vibrant orange, his short whiskers shimmering white, with his claws a dull white. He didn't appear to be strong, or at least show muscle through his uniform, nor was all that concerned in his smile when being glared at by not just the captain of Concordia, but the women that made up the ship's occupants. Once the young man was at attention, General Pepper said, "Soldier, state your name to your new superior." Immediately, the pilot announced, "Sir, Zeno Gygas at your service, sir." Vara groaned slightly, then said, "You will announce me as ma'am, soldier." "Yes, ma'am." Some of the women in the back began to whisper amongst each other. Words like he, him, man, and even men were given bad senses and context. However, they stopped as Captain Dominus looked to the general and said, "You can't be serious. After all the requests I put in for another woman?" General Pepper moved to rest his arms behind himself and replied, "I'm sorry, Captain, but he is all I could offer that meets all of your other qualifications." The canine then waved to signal for his armored units to leave, both glancing at one another before accepting their order to return to the transport vessel. Soon after, Pepper stepped forward to aim for the ship's hatch, where he said, "Do take care of yourselves now, Captain Dominus. There's still work to be done before true peace is returned to the Lilat system." "Yes, sir," the captain said with a final salute to the general. The transport ship roared up its engines as the door closed on its side. Then the docking bay doors began to open up once more as the small ship lifted and turned to aim for its exit. With the shutters safely cleared, the transport vessel accelerated out past the barrier, then ignited its thrusters to full power before vanishing from sight. As the airlock doors went to close yet again, the captain put her angry attention on the new pilot, stepping up to grab the collar of his shirt and jacket as she viciously said, "You don't do a goddamn thing on this ship. You hear me, mutt? Not a word comes out your muzzle without my say-so. You don't eat, sleep, drink, get dressed, or so much as take a shit without my approval. That understood?" The male canine continued to smile calmly as he gazed directly into the Aztec's eyes and quietly replied, "Affirmative, ma'am." Varwa jerked her arm away, letting go of the new pilot in a rough manner as she turned to head out of the docking bay. Some of the other women followed, wanting to return to their work or relaxation. Yet a few from D2 stayed to glare at the new recruit. One who was particularly enraged was Myrna, cracking some of her knuckles when she clenched her hand into a fist. She held a more threatening gaze upon the new soldier, unchanged as the man looked over to give a friendly wave. Standing at the wolf's left side, Diana asked, "How long until he gets demoted?" Myrna growled, then responded, "He won't even make it to his last meal." Soon after, the wolf turned to head back to her training, followed by both the fox and dingo of her respective unit. Zeno just stood there confused, almost unsure of what had aspired between the women. However, he figured just to go about his own way, since he currently had no occupation. "I know this isn't ideal," General Pepper said through his hologram transmission back at the Federation's HQ. "However, after the Star Fox team uncovered this secret, we cannot allow it to fall into the wrong hands again. There is nothing to discuss. Your fleet will keep lookout and report back to me directly if anything should occur. Do not, I repeat, do not allow it to use any of its abilities. The Cornerian army will look into disposing of it later, once the committee has made a decision. Contact me directly if or when something involving it happens." This concludes the reading of the prologue and the first chapter of the fanfiction of Star Fox Experiment X0-G5. Thank you all for watching and listening. If we can manage to reach 5 likes on the video, then I will consider reading the second chapter of the fanfiction. If anyone in the comments wants to tell me that they probably want me to do my own original work, or maybe do some other type of content material, then I will consider it and look into it. Personally, I don't really like asking for likes or subscriptions just because I want to be able to prove myself and be able to earn the subscription / likes that I get. But I wanted to get some feedback on this video. So again, the goal for me to read the second chapter will be to get 5 likes on this video. And with that, stay safe, take care. We'll see you in the next video.